WKCR FM, New York.
Right now, since we are just about at the half-an-hour mark, if our timing here is correct, I'd like to remind you you're tuned to WKCR FM in New York City at 89.9 on the FM dial, the voice of student radio at Columbia University in New York City. And right now, we'd like to call the head of the show, more or less, for at least this week, Bill Monroe, over to the microphone, and I'd like to ask him a couple of questions. It seems that you have a pretty good new band here with you. I haven't gotten to hear it in exactly this combination until just now, and a lot of good, fresh, young blood, and you're getting to sound pretty good. What are some of the things that you expect from the boys? How do you like them to play so that you get the right sound out of bluegrass?
Well, I expect them all to get in there and work, and everybody pull for each other, you know, and of course we have to have all five instruments has to get in there and really play right, you know. Takes a good fiddler and a good banjo player and a guitar man and bass man and somebody to play the mallet. Mm-hmm. And we've got a pretty good group here, I think. Some of the boys hadn't been with me very long, but the time they're here, I'd say 6 months, they'll really be doing it all right. They'll be playing bluegrass music.
Okay, how is it that you think that that the various instruments should play? I mean, each one has a separate part in the band, and each fulfills its own function. What is it that, say, the fiddle does that the other instruments don't do that are most important for it to fulfill? Well,
I've always figured a fiddle to be the lead instrument, you know, and of course he takes most of the melodies, I guess, and then if I'm singing, you know, a solo or we've got a duet or trio going, he'll back up the singing, you know, with maybe some filling stuff, or might be playing some harmony along with it too, you know.
Mm-hmm. Richard is not exactly one of the typical fiddlers that you had with you. How have you been bringing him along to play in the bluegrass style?
Well, Richard knows a lot about bluegrass. Of course, he could stand some more learning with it, but and I'm going to do my best to help him all I can, you know. And what he is a little short of, you know, is knowing a lot of the old-time fiddle numbers, I think, the way they should be played, that know the melody all the way through. And, of course, a lot of the songs, why, he plays them fine. And I think he'll tell you himself that maybe he don't know some of the fiddle numbers. It's a job to know all of them, you know. And give him some time.
Okay, I think we will. How about Lamar on the banjo?
Well, Lamar's coming along fine. He's been with us, I'd say, about, how long, 6 or 8 months or a year, something like that?
It's been about that, Bill.
And he's learned to leave out a lot of stuff that I don't want, you know. That's been my big problem since I've had bluegrass music, or been the head of it, to keep out the stuff that I didn't want in it, you know. That's been as big a problem is to get him to play, you know, what I really did want. Mm-hmm. And so Lamar has discarded a lot of it. For the time being, he's got a lot of fine ideas that he brought from Washington, D.C. down to Nashville, that he's going to start adding them just a little as we go along, you know, a little later. When he gets really the foundation of bluegrass music and really goes to driving that banjo, and he's already begun to let it ring, well, he'll be all right.
What are some of the things that you mentioned before that you think should be kept out of bluegrass music?
Well, real hot licks with the fiddle don't need to be in it. You don't need drums in it. You don't need a dobro in it. And a hot guitar, you don't need that in it.
What exactly do you think is the reason for those not being in it? It just doesn't produce the right sound, or is it something else?
Well, it gets back to brass, you know. Hot lick, if it's done in a bluegrass style, that's fine. And but you know, it's kind of hard to keep it that way. Bluegrass, the hot music in bluegrass just goes out so far, you know, and you can run it out too far, you know, if you just keep fooling with it on a banjo or fiddle or mandolin, either one.
Bluegrass music has stayed pretty much the same since 1945, when it was actually more or less formed in its pretty close to present state. But you certainly have brought along some changes since then. What do you think are some of those that you've added to bluegrass?
Well, bluegrass was formed in '39. Of course, we added a banjo in '43, and that gave us the old-time style, the old-time sound, you know, of a banjo. Bluegrass music was formed back in '39, and all we done was add the 5-string banjo. And when there wasn't hardly any around, of course, I used string beans. He done comedy, and I wanted a comedian in the group. And then a touch of the banjo. And following string, well, of course, we had Earl Scruggs, and he had the 3-finger roll, and that gave us a boost with the bluegrass. As far as it forming in 45, it was formed back before that.
What since 1945 do you think you've added to the bluegrass style?
Well, I've brought in different ideas, each year. Different notes, that I can remember. And with fooling with music for so long or studying it, well, you can hear things that needs to be put into it and brought into it, and a different way of, and maybe letting the guitar do some runs, that would be original now. And with the style that Richard had with the fiddle, that'll give us a boost too, you see. And I have used that through the years. Each man, I don't say I've done it all, but through me and with the styles they would have, with the fiddle or the banjo or the guitar, would give me something on down the road, I wouldn't want to keep the same group for 25 or 30 years, I would get sounding awful stale then.
I see.
And I want new blood as I go along.
Well, you certainly have it now. People have been asking me personally my own opinion on this subject. They're interested in knowing the answer to this question. Bill, as you've been going along now in country music for a long time, close to 30 years at least, not only on Grand Ole Opry but all over the country. And some people have asked me how long do I think Bill Monroe will be continuing on in bluegrass music, and I guess the best way to answer that question would be leaving it up to you and asking it of you.
Well, I don't really know. It seemed like time might be kind of catching up with me. I've tried to, really fight the music and keep it in the right groove and everything, and really drive it hard. And of course, the time's going to come when I'll have to quit fooling with it. But I'd say I'll stay with it probably another 10 years.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. Have you made any plans or had any thoughts concerning what you will do or what you would like to do with bluegrass once you actually won't be playing it professionally with groups that tour and so on?
Well, I would like to keep the name of bluegrass going on, and the Bluegrass Boys. It'll take the Bluegrass Boys. That name is going to have to play a big part in it, and I would like to. I'd like to see James William or somebody, carry that name on and keep it going, and I'll help out all that I can, with it.